How are we going to fix it, Steve? To fix it, you have to acknowledge that 40 years later, the two prime ministers who would have taken over leadership for at least 21 years, because it's 25 under Sir Lyndon and 21 under these two men. Under Sir Lyndon, the senior names in this country was respected. For political reasons, not everything went right. And for some religious reasons and for some spiritual reasons, with esoteric connotations, certain things did not work out. The bottom line is, his 25 came to an end. Another was 25 plus 21. Okay? That's how much time then passed between three. 25 versus 21. They cannot sit on the side of his legacy. Their legacy would be a legacy of corruption and, in my view, conspiracy to continue to support the conspiracy to defraud the people of the world, the poor and the needy, and those who really need it, from everything. You go to them with your plan. 5 years later, the system say, okay, our boys now going to take over. You done got the plan. Okay, we need to let y'all lose now. Okay, so there will be no way that the people will be able to say, if you did win, you promised to help them with their plan. I mean, like Amos was able to show his plan to the leadership of the Progressive Liberal Party. And they crossed the offspring of one of their brother. But the conspiracy, we know why the cross was done. My grandfather's house is a sacred house in respect to history, Bahamian, black, biblical Bahamian history. Miss Christie, wife of the sitting prime minister, ma'am. You're a Hannah. Like the former governor general is a Hannah. And we had another. And both of which is from Acklands. My grandfather sat as the president of the Acklands, Crooked Island and Lonky Association when your parents and some of you, like Sir Clifford Darling and former Governor General of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas after 73. The bottom line is this. The natural resources of this country was raped. The Bahamian people in this country, in respect to our natural resources, was raped. You rape a nation from their wealth. Borrow money from foreigners. You expecting trouble. You expecting victimization and foreign aggression. You expect for certain television and radio licenses to be given out in large numbers. Why? Because in some cases for the system, it's only one other house they need to target. That other house is Willis Miller House. That is the house. You see, I'm saying to the Bahamian people, we elect our prime minister. He elects everyone else. So, just how we elect him and he elect everyone else, God does not wait for people like us to choose who's going to take over his country 40 years later. Why? Let us use the sitting prime minister and the former prime minister. Let us use their governance in the last 21 years. Just look at, for one example, the Bahamas Treasury, the Bahamian people's bank account. 7,000 Bahamian citizens' lights are off. Young Bahamian ladies are okay and very happy and relaxed having sex with Haitians, the majority of which are illegal immigrants and carrying around legal Bahamian documents. This is the treasonous actions that both government, the former government, the Free National Movement government under the leadership of Hubert, the Right Honorable Hubert Alexander Ingram, the sitting Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Perry Glaston Christie, and I single out these two men because they make the cabinet. Every word I say to them, may the cabinet understand what I say to these two men on behalf of my three little children, one of which is my son Joshua, a 3-year-old little boy that only needs 3 surgeries, that I was preaching on national airwaves and heard around the world for years. But why isn't it possible for me to go and do it myself? Because like every other Bahamian entrepreneur who business was encouraged by the government of the Bahamas by way of their treasonous, egregious policies in respect of foreign direct investment and their foreign policy in general. Their foreign policy in general cuts out Bahamians. What that means, Bahamian people and international people around the world, that they have decided that making $40 million every year, $200 million in 5 years, is more important in respect to giving jobs to foreigners, by giving jobs to foreigners through the Ministry of Immigration. The Minister of Immigration signs off on everything. He's also the Minister of Foreign Affairs, someone who's down with same-sex marriage. How many nations that makes up the United Nations Security Council? First and foremost, by the way, United Nations Security Council. What do your preamble or your constitutions sound and word like? What is the wording? Can you just change it as easy as the politicians, in my view, that I know because by way of their policy decision, by way of their own treasonous and traitorous actions in terms of turning on their own. King David did not even kill his enemy when he was pursuing the enemy of God's people, Yahweh's people. He said, no, let him live. Let's feed him, nurse him, give him health, give him medicine. That's your strangers, Bahamas. We're not saying we hate strangers. We're saying our wealth is for us to have, for us to enjoy, to be able to share by right, full passage unto whoever desire. I don't think there is no right-thinking person in this new thinking world that would agree to a government allowing, the PLP government, moving, first and foremost, let me finish this point, allowing 8,000 to 10,000 Chinese to come and build Bahama and not employ one Bahamian. What is this nonsense? Then they have a phase level opening. They bring some Bahamian so-called painters that came and spoke that they were told that they must draw a picture of a tree with human beings in the form of a tree reaching up. But I'm telling y'all, we live in low-lying, shoaly waters. We don't have to reach far. But in that respect, it represents our rebellion against Yahweh. Yahweh is his name. You must go, black people. Go, every last one of y'all. Go now and study the name Yahweh. Yahweh. It's a Hebrew word. Study it before you criticize Hubert Ingram or Perry Christie. Okay? I do not criticize these men without first seeking permission from the Most High. That comes by way of knowledge. Go read Hosea chapter 4, verse 8. Go read Amos chapter 5, verse 8. Go read Revelation chapter 21, verse 8. This is the word of Yahweh. It is Yahweh who spoke to the great God. Okay? Amen. Down to the dawn of time, a lot of things happened to black people, to cut through the chase and to cut a long story short. Reparation, royal family. Yes, it is Amos. Just a second.
You keep trying to give birth to something that I don't know what you're talking about. I want to know what you're talking about.
Okay, you will know, Steve, in short order. No, we're talking about the Acklands, Crooked Island, and Long Key Association. That's fine enough. That's fair enough, Steve. I didn't hear you well on the phone for the last 8 weeks. You hear that, Bahamas? 8 weeks. You hear that, international public? See, you know what? I'm not losing it. Okay, once you confess, I'm not losing it. Okay, now, I did all of this and went through that exercise to record what Steve said after he cut me on his station, Peace 107.5 FM in the Bahamas, 242. My history, my friends, are great. This is what Steve now will learn. It is extremely great. It is just as great as the history records either majority rule or independence. Now, the thing is, though, not only Amos has a rich history, we all, as Bahamian born citizens of this sovereign democratic independent state, we all are rich in history. You see, before there was prime ministers, there were heads of family by way of your pastor, and for the grown-ups, there were associations to remember the struggle of the black race, and primarily, particularly, the struggle during the passage and what happened and what took place. This is what I'm talking about, Steve. This is what must be taught to our people. This is why these two prime ministers, that is a part of a system, they did not mean us harm. There's a lot of things they did not know that they would admit, like they have, some of which have admitted. Mr. Christie admitted on numerous occasions when he lost. There were things he could have done better. Of course, we now know he only was saying that to get a second opportunity to be able to be able to secure his legacy. There is no legacy for Mr. Christie or Mr. Ingram, because you can have all the money in the world. Now, Bahamas, think about this. We can get angry as much as we want. They out of office, and we cannot pursue them because of the law and how it's written. So this is what must happen. You must take a 180-degree national turnaround that will cause the international people to step back, or at least stop. The enemy have long advanced upon us, so much so that our political leaders have become absolutely, egregiously corrupt. This is not new news. This is old news in a modern day. Steve, and so I come to resurrect. I'm here to resurrect by the help of great men like Steve and others. I'm 43. I can learn from him. You can learn from a dog. My old people in my Pinefield Acklands, where I was taught these principles, said manners is bedouin to a dog. In other words, I just said manners and respect is owing to even your dog. The world around us, Bahamas,